to the Real Recovery Show. Our episodes air every Friday at noon, and you can catch all of our episodes just by going to themeetingspace.com, as well as a bunch of other platforms. And today I'm joined here by Kevin Jones.
Hey.
And the topic for today is gratitude. And it's kind of interesting because for a while at recovery events, every time this topic would come up, I would cringe.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, oh my God, there's a whole bunch of people going to talk about gratitude. Now we have to talk about gratitude. And then when I would hear about people writing gratitude lists, I'm like, okay, with the gratitude lists already. You just get to a point where you're like gratituded out. But that was showing that my attitude wasn't in gratitude.
What about when you're at Thanksgiving and everyone goes to going around the table saying what they're grateful for, and for some reason you can't think of anything, right? Because your turn's about to come up. You're like, I have no idea what to be grateful for right now.
You're having a food coma.
Yeah.
You're like, I can't think right now.
I'm glad my pants are buttoned.
I'm grateful for pants that unbuttoned. Yeah. But over time, I've learned that there are different levels of applying the tools for gratitude in recovery, and that true gratitude is actually sanity. It's actually being in right relation with other people. It's in right relation with the world. It includes humility. It allows for a surrender and a dependence upon a higher power, and it has an attitude that's very solution-oriented and positive, and not magnifying and focusing on the problems. But gratitude was never supposed to replace feeling your feelings. It was never supposed to be, just be positive. Because I tried that. I tried being positive. I'm a child of the 70s, and so. We had self-help books and Tony Robbins tape cassettes, and and it seemed like all you needed to do was just be positive.
That's
and as a budding alcoholic addict, this was not so easy for me, because I nurtured my victim story and my don't you know how hard it is, and because I was earning my drink, I was earning my drug, I was whatever. And so
I never really heard her put as earning anything by being sad, right? But that's what you're doing.
Oh, you're selling yourself on it.
I'm so terrible that I have to use.
Had a hard day work halfway through. You start the day and you're really good, and then halfway through the day you're like, you know what? When I get home, I'm gonna have a drink because I deserve it.
Oh, right?
You're gonna make me drink if you keep talking like that. It's like, you know what? Yeah, it's because so inside my mind is working on it.
You're gonna make me drink if you talk to me like that. You better believe you will. That's funny.
Yeah, I drank at a lot of things. I drank at I had a lot of stories in my mind. So and then with gratitude, there was the idea and this worked for a while. I'm grateful that I'm grateful I'm in the United States. I'm grateful I'm not in a country where, they don't have, running water or electricity or stuff like that, or I'm grateful I'm not that person who has only one leg, or I'm grateful, whatever. And then I got to this place where I was like, can we be grateful of things without comparing ourselves to somebody else's seeming misfortune?
Oh, that's good to say. That is good to say.
And also, I've met people, I've seen people without legs who are way more grateful, than me with my high-class problems on the wrong day.
Or generally just happier.
Or happier.
Yeah.
And getting into true deep acceptance, and what is the gift in this, and really and being able to be inspiring or whatever like that, so yeah. So gratitude has a lot of layers to it, and so I'm really stoked to have this conversation with you and see what comes up.
Yeah, I really appreciate what you said, because I remember people would say you should be grateful that you're not homeless, and I have been. So it's like, right. I should be grateful, right? I should be, but here's the deal is that I'm not now, right? So what does that really mean, though? And it means that I don't have to compare myself to who I was to be grateful for the things I have now.
Right.
I shouldn't even have to look at the negative side to be grateful for the things that I have.
Right.
right? That's kind of the key to the whole lesson.
Right.
And if I know where I'm at, like, and that's when, what is it? There's always a turn of phrase people use, like, you need to live in the now, right? But when I think about living in the now, what I think about in early stages, right, was, well, living in the now is mean I do whatever I want whenever I want, right? And
Right.
that's what living in the now looks like.
Kinda.
But as I got more into recovery,
Right.
I start to realize that living in the now means I'm grateful for what I have, so I know where I'm at,
Yeah.
right? Like I'm about to rent a beautiful house, right?
Yeah.
It's a little house, perfect for
Yeah.
me and a
Yeah.
2-year-old. I have a 2-year-old that I think is the coolest little person I ever met in my life,
Yes. She is.
right? I have a great job.
Hmm.
I'm doing a fun show right now, right? Like all these things add up to this very, very grateful me in this moment,
Yeah.
right? Doesn't mean it's going to be the same tomorrow, but in this moment, I know where I'm at, right?
Right.
And I can start thinking of the more trivial stuff and the things that maybe aren't that great, right? And I can remind myself exactly of where I am.
Hmm.
And what I need to work on, right? And that's in some of these programs. There's actually a position where you're supposed to look over your day,
Yeah.
right? And if you look over your day, if you only look at the things you did wrong, you're never
Right.
going to realize how great your life has become, right?
Right.
So you got to do both. I got to realize
So,
where I can make some effort and where my effort's been made.
and so to add to that, learning to be comfortable being uncomfortable and to appreciate the process and to recognize that there's a lesson in everything allows for gratitude to be infused in even some of the harder things. If in the moment, you know, some fecal matter has hit a particular oscillating device and I'm not feeling like the spiritual giant that I would like to be seen as or thought of as, or maybe feel like I am. What ends up happening is in the moment, I'm in fear. I don't trust God. I don't trust myself. I don't trust other people. I'm in the opposite of gratitude. I
Mm-hmm.
don't, I don't, I don't in this moment believe that everything is happening for me. I believe it's happening to me.
Yeah.
Right. And that whole headspace, right? And so gratitude for me is basically saying, you know what? I know you're in charge. Show me that you're in charge. I really need to see that you're in charge. Higher power, God, and really, show me how to see this. Show me how to do this, and I start getting insights. And I become grateful. I may not be at peace totally yet, but I become grateful because I understand that um, basically I'm stepping into the solution in that moment. And even though everything hasn't been worked out yet, I'm already feeling the power of being focused in that direction. And I start to feel grateful that, plus it's interesting, no man is an island. And our addictions like to isolate us. And so that's why, we're told to stay in the herd of people who are all focused on healing. And so there's something very beautiful that happens in um, our humbling experiences, like our ego gets a little bit, don't you know who I think I am now that I have
Mm-hmm.
this and whatever like that. And it likes to, think it's more important than it is. And then something happens and um, you need other people. You need to talk about it, or you're walking through something or somebody else comes to you and they're walking through something and there's something in that just brings up like an appreciation for this whole process, that if I was able to do it all by myself, and if I really was who I thought I was when my ego's all inflated, and I didn't need to be in that kind of gratitude, I never would get to experience that joining, because isn't that what it's all about anyway? Like, we're not supposed to be better than or less than or separate from.
It's like that saying that the flowers don't look at the flower next to it; it just blooms.
Yeah. Oh, I like that.
Yeah,
That's
it
cute.
just does its thing.
Yeah. Yeah. Now I'm picturing flowers.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, so over time, I've had to learn also not to be grateful for things for another reason, because I would be grateful for things and then something would happen to the things. I can't tell you how many times this has happened where I would buy something and I would be like, oh my God, this is the best thing. And then I'd want to buy more of them just in case something ever happened to them. And I go to buy them and they're discontinued.
Oh. I just had my daughter has my brother bought her this thermos, right? It's a really cool thermos, keeps the ice forever.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is the greatest thing I've ever seen in my
Yeah.
life.
Stock up.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
need to buy more. So I'm about to text him and say, buy me more. Like I can't go online and buy
Right,
them
right, right,
myself,
right.
but it's what he did for my daughter, right? So I'm
Right.
like, give me more of those. We got this whole relationship
Right.
built. I go to get her out of the car, and all of a sudden her whole body's wet. I'm like, what's going on? And I pick that thing up, and when I go like that, water dumps out. Right, every time you go like that, more
Uh,
water dumps out. It could be the keep drinks as cold can be, but if it spills, I
right.
can't give it to a 2-year old in a car seat
Right,
that's gonna
right, right,
spill it on
right, right,
herself, right? So
right.
all of a sudden, I was grateful for him, and then I was very
Right.
disappointed by them,
Right.
right? So
Right.
gratitude can lead to disappointment. It can,
Right. It can lead to disappointment. It can lead to resentments.
yeah,
You know, all of a sudden, this precious that your inner Smeagol is like
yeah. I was very excited
coveting.
over
It's
it.
like, oh my God, this is the best bottle in the whole world. And then
Yeah,
next thing you know, how could they even sell this? I don't
this is
understand. This is
ridiculous.
ridiculous. You know, but
I
I've
can't
had,
believe my brother cursed me with that thing. You know what
yeah,
I mean?
oh. But that's what it is. Like I've gotten attached. I've gotten attached to broads. I've gotten attached to my car. I've gotten attached to, you know, if I'm grateful for a thing being a certain way or the story of why I think I need the thing, right? It's very interesting because it is me deciding for myself again what my highest good looks like. It's me deciding all over again where my good comes from. You know, it's me attaching my serenity to something being in my life. I have now made it special and a little mini higher power as I carry around my false idols of my bra being so amazing, you know, and it really was amazing, but it really, you know, whatever. So, and I do tend to buy a second thing of something if I think, because like I'm thinking it's going to get discontinued. But like I've also done it. Have you done this? Where I've been like, oh my God, this is so great. So I'm like, this is it. This is what I need. And so I go, I don't want to not be without this. So I stock up and it's available. And then maybe it's carb-free bread that I think is so amazing, and then my stomach hurts. Or maybe
Dude,
it's maybe
I have so many cans of tuna in my closet right now because I was gonna go real light, high protein meals. I can eat a can of tuna whenever I want. So I go to Costco, get a big ass thing of tuna, right? And I have two of them.
and then you start, and then
Yeah.
you're like,
Oh,
no, no,
it's
no.
too salty.
Oh,
The tuna has a weird texture. It's
yes.
just like something's off, and I
And
can't
you
even
just
look
bought
at
all
them.
of it.
I can't even look at them anymore. I was like, I need them out of my house forever. But they're still sitting in
Yeah,
the
so like
cupboard.
this is how we run our own lives, you know, like when we decide I stamp this is good, I stamp that is
Yeah.
good. You know, if I'm grateful for a person in my life being if I think that I need this person and like I get too attached to maybe how it is, maybe I'm so happy that they're treating me a certain way or they're doing a certain thing for me. Well, I promise you I'm going to be a bitch when they don't.
Yeah.
And God forbid they leave, I'm a victim. I'm
You
abandoned.
know what? Now that you brought this up, so when I was in sober living, this is where I met my daughter's mother, right? And we hung out every day
So
together.
romantic.
Yeah, yeah, right. This is exactly where we're supposed to
Of
be, and in
course.
the right frame of
Yep.
mind to meet someone, right?
Yes.
But actually, we didn't even date for like another year after that. But I met her there, and we would used to hang out on the patio every day, and we would talk and we would talk, and it was just like I needed her there, right? Because I'm one of those people, man, that I have. I'm very insane a lot of the time, right? So when I have something that can bring me and center me in the moment,
Mm-hmm.
I very much appreciate it, right?
Yeah,
Because I
of
have a hard
course.
time doing that. So
Yeah.
when she had left, um, it just ruined it for me. I didn't want to be there anymore. I felt super
Interesting.
uncomfortable, and I had to talk to a counselor about it. And it wasn't her per se. Like she go do whatever she wants. It wasn't her that I needed there, but I needed those moments, right?
Right.
And I was so grateful for those moments. And when they weren't there,
It was just black and white.
yeah. So
Yeah.
when does it's like grateful to dependent? It's
So
a
this
fine
is
line.
so this and I feel like God has been really, really working on me about this, right? So I got this lesson, and it was that a couple goes to a restaurant, and the couple goes to the restaurant, and it's the perfect music, and it's the perfect temperature, and the food's perfect, and the waiter's perfect, and they're just so happy. They're both in the best mood. It's a new restaurant, and they're so happy. So they go, this is our restaurant. They decide this is our restaurant. So they go back, and they don't have the same experience. The food doesn't taste the same. The air is not the same. Maybe it's a different waiter. Maybe the waiter's in a different mood. Whatever it is, and they go, "Oh man, okay, maybe it was just this night. We'll give it another chance." So they go back another time, and now it's a completely different experience. You know, now the food is definitely not the same or whatever like that, and they really, really want it to be their special place. And And so what I got was that gratitude, and this brings it back to what you said earlier, is living in the moment, right? But living in the moment without condition. It says, you know what? For whatever reason, it felt right, like for us to do this talk tonight, right? We're going to have an experience that's going to be unique tonight, right? And it is good in and of itself. And we are not going to try to chase this high and to replicate it in the future. We could just be grateful that we're in the right place, doing the thing that we're supposed to be doing right now. And that tomorrow we're going to be a different man in a different river, having a different experience. And it may be we're going to be in the same room. And maybe we're going to be doing another show. But we have a whole new experience to have. And it doesn't even need to be the same. And so it sets the day free to be a unique experience. And so I could be grateful. I could be so happy that you're here. And I could be so grateful that we're doing this. And I could be having so much fun, right? But just for today,
Yeah.
just for today. And to not need tomorrow to be the same as today. Thank God. I would
Yeah,
like to.
right. I can't Groundhog Day it.
Yeah,
I
no.
would go crazy.
Yeah, no. Yeah.
So actually, I was just recently dating someone who was our last night together, and she was like, "Oh, I missed this," and I was like, "I do too." And it sucks to know this is it, but this is it, right? This is our only day. There won't be
Right.
any more calls after this.
Right.
We can't do anything together anymore because
Right.
this is it, right?
Right.
So, and that was our last day, and I was grateful for that day, right?
Yeah.
And then sometimes I think back and I wish I would have done this on that day, and I wish I would have done that on the day. But it's a happy memory, right? Because I know it was only for that day; it wouldn't have led anywhere else.
Right.
So I think it's
Right.
now, since we said that, I think it's gratitude. I got to give gratitude to someone else, right? I got to give it to something else. And
Appreciation.
yeah, exactly. But when I'm grateful for something, if I'm grateful because of me or because it's happening to me, it's not the same as I'm grateful that my higher power allowed this happen. Or I'm grateful life let this happen. Or I'm grateful circumstances let this happen. But when I'm like, I'm grateful that I did this, that means I have this attachment to it, right? So maybe the issue isn't so much gratitude that brings me down, like it leads me to disappointment, right? But it's the attachment I have to the
and the
gratitude
identification
and the dependence.
The dependence, the identification, what does this mean about me? I have this happening, so it must mean I'm this, or I have this happening and it must mean I'm this. But for me, I feel like gratitude, like a real healthy gratitude, is just an appreciation that we have everything that we need. We may not use it all, we may not apply it all, and we may suffer from not doing it. Like if I don't pray in the morning, if I don't go into meditation in the morning, my day is a little askew, right? And then unless I get my head straight, stop again and realize, you know what, I'm running too fast. I have very definite ideas of what I think needs to happen, and I'm setting myself up for misery, right? So I think to be in gratitude is to get back down to like simplifying things, and to say, you know what, like it's so crazy when like I don't know if you're like this, but I could be so focused on what's next, what's next, what's next,
Yeah, all
what's
day,
next,
all
what's
day.
next, what's next, what's next, and it's like I'm never enough. I didn't do enough. I gotta do that. Blah blah. And like, and if I don't end up, something happens, derails my day, or something happens that I don't get the thing I think I need to get done. If I'm in that headspace, I will be completely without gratitude. I will discount every good thing that actually happened that day. I will minimize it. I will focus on the one thing that I think should have happened that didn't happen, you know? And so gratitude reminds me, it says, hold on a second. Big picture for a second. Can we like zoom out of your life? Like, first of all, these aren't the big deals that you're making it. Second of all, the thing that you thought needed to happen evidently didn't. And if it was supposed to in some way, then there's a lesson in it to learn, and I don't know, it puts us into a solution oriented headspace.
Let me ask you this. So do you think you can be grateful for the things you're dependent on?
Give me an example.
Well, like I'm grateful for water, right? I'm grateful that I got to eat today, right? I'm grateful.
Okay, here, I have a spine injury. I can't sit on cushy chairs, can't be in the passenger seat of a car. My bed is wood with thin mattress over it, and I Yeah. Okay. So take, and if I go to places like comedy shows or whatever, sometimes I have to bring a little stool with me because their chairs are a little bit too cushy. What happens is my spine, it doesn't, it's, I'm working on it though. I feel I'm doing something that I feel is really doing something for it, fixing fascia, etc. But like if my hip doesn't stay stable, it sends a chain reaction up my neck and then creates pain across my skull, and it could last for 2 days, right?
Jeez.
Now,
Yeah. From one action, it could last for 2 days. It just
mm-hmm,
stays strong.
mm-hmm.
Dang.
So, okay, grateful. Grateful that I know how to avoid that thing being triggered. Grateful that I have found things that can heal it and correct it. Grateful that there are chairs and movie theaters, and there are places I could go where I know where I could sit. Grateful that I have people in my life that don't make this a big deal, that don't say, "Oh my God, I don't want to hang out with her because of this," and like will carry the freaking chair. Although now I have a really like really light stool that I'm amazed holds my weight, but I digress. And grateful I'm alive because the thing that caused it was child abuse. You know, and an abuseful situation I didn't think I was going to live through. Gratitude. You
Yeah.
know, like if I lived my life feeling sorry for myself, I wouldn't have found solutions to any of this stuff. I wouldn't be grateful for the fact that I get to keep improving it, get to keep healing it. I just got the chills. Um, you know, like it's necessary. It's necessary to have an attitude of gratitude. You know, I've had several illnesses that together it's like, whew, and I keep them arrested by the genetic conditions. I never thought I was going to be talking about this, but it is a gratitude show. I have a postprandial reactive hypoglycemia. I got it. It's genetic. My dad had it. My grandmother had it.
I'm out of my element with what you just said.
It My blood sugar does not stay stable unless I do certain things, and it crashes and then crashes, and I get seizures. Right?
Gotcha.
So and gain weight, which the vanity in me hates. But anyway, so so I have to be really careful how what I eat so that I digest well. I have to be well. I have to know that I'm absorbing my food. I have to know that I'm sleeping well enough, and I have to eat only when I'm hungry. And I can't have sugar in my diet, and I can't have oil and sugar together at all, because my blood sugar will get like really unstable.
Does
And
that mean like vinaigrettes?
yeah, well, I just use one that doesn't have anything in it like sugar or
Gotcha.
whatever. So when I'm not in gratitude, this is what it looks like. I don't understand why other people get to eat these things. Why? You know? And then when I'm in gratitude, I'm like, God, thank God my grandmother told me to get tested. Thank God I actually had a family member, and she didn't even like me. So that was a freaking miracle that she told me. And and like and thank God I know what to eat, and I've learned how to do this. And thank God I can actually be healthy and avoid seizures. You know, and then when something happens, I can go, what did I do? What did I do? Where did I screw up in this? Maybe it was the carb-free bread that I was like coveting. Maybe it was that I didn't get enough sleep when I knew I should have gone to bed earlier or whatever. But it's grateful that there's a way, that there are tools, I have the information, and I'm a firm believer that the way appears when we want to know. So anything, we can have a better attitude about anything that's going on in our lives, anything, you know. And so you know, and then I have this thing called, it's the last thing I'll talk about. I have several things, but I have MTHFR, and a lot of people do actually. You can go on to 23andMe and find out your genetic whatevers. But I have MTHFR, and so does my sister.
What
And
is MTHFR?
we don't methylate folate properly, and so our immune
I didn't mean to
system.
laugh at that, but that sounds funny. We don't methylate folate.
We
Probably.
don't. And then I love MTHFR because when it's written MTHFR, if you read it, it says it looks like motherfucker.
Yeah,
You know?
right?
But so that's, of course, I get a cool one. I get a cool thing, right? So so the thing is that I could take a supplement. I have a sauna. I have to detox in other ways because my immune system is compromised, right? It doesn't detox well. So I'm always telling people, don't wear cologne around me. You know, there's no, at the meeting space, there's no like chemicals being sprayed in the air. we're always using a little bit more expensive natural things, for everything. And I can't use chlorine. I can't touch uh, toilet paper and paper towels that have chlorine in it, which most commercial ones do. And so I don't actually change the toilet paper at the meeting space. But so different things like that, right? And so on a ungrateful me would be like, oh my God, I don't feel well, blah blah blah. And the grateful me is like, God, you know what? My body is like so much healthier now because I know this stuff, and I take such good care of myself because I have to. But the byproduct is I'm 52 years old and I don't look like I'm 52 years old, and I feel like I'm so much healthier than even when I was 32 years old. And so to be in gratitude is to say, you know what? Like, bonus round. I'm in the bonus round. Like I get to be sober. I get to be healthier, than my genetics, my PTSD, my addiction, my lifestyle, my headspace, my programming. Any of those things would have let me be.
Well, let's back up a little bit. So, I have two things to say. One, I have had low carb bread, and I feel like it never goes bad. Right?
Because all it is fiber.
Yeah, I don't know what's in it. But the other thing is 23andMe, you said, and you can do what on it?
23andMe, it's a website where you can find out your DNA. Like, you can see if you're more prone to. They even have stuff for alcoholics. Like, if you're more prone to alcoholism, even in it. So yeah.
So you like give them your blood or something? What do you do?
Yeah, like there's a packet you get, and then I don't think it's blood. I think we spit in it or something, and then they're able to do like whole DNA tests and stuff. It's pretty good.
I know it's owned by Google.
Is it now?
23andMe.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. So now
I believe this.
He's going to be grateful I gave him that information.
I keep meaning to do one of those. I want to know who I'm related to.
So that's another thing, right? So, they say in recovery that that no experience that we've ever had like goes unused. So like when we walk through something, now it could be a testimony to somebody else. Like I hope that what I just shared is an inspiration to other people. Another thing is I stopped breathing all through the day and at night. I had really, really bad asthma. I had it as a child, and then I had really bad asthma as an adult, and I had sleep apnea. I had to be on one of the CPAP machines.
I had sleep apnea. I think I still do.
And then I would stop breathing all through the night. It was terrifying. I would like jerk up because I would just stop breathing if I was laying down. And then I learned something called Buteyko, Buteyko, and it retrains your breathing. And the added benefit was it gave me more energy, more carbon dioxide.
Wait, what do you mean it changed your breathing?
Yeah.
Like you do exercises?
You do breathing exercises, and
it
fixes. Yeah, you can. It's called Close Your Mouth or Shut Your Mouth. You can get it on Amazon, and there's a whole bunch of information about it. But that saved my life. No more asthma attacks. No more sleep apnea. Just do a couple of things, and holy cow, to be off that CPAP machine. But when I had the CPAP machine, I promise you I was grateful for maybe like the beginning part. I started having energy. I started feeling like alive. But then I was like, oh my God, there has to be better than this, because I felt like Darth Vader and I was carrying my hose every time I would make it return in my bed. And,
dude, that's why I can't use it, because I feel
I am your father, Luke.
I roll around so much. Yeah, I can't even imagine that.
So yeah. Anyway, that's my point. I mean, I feel like if we're asking, what's the next right step? If we're saying, what can I do about this? If we're in that kind of action and seeking that, and we do the next right thing, we'll have the aha, and we'll have a shift, we'll have a different experience, and then those things become things in our satchel to be able to help other people. It's exciting, And when we're talking to another person, or we're talking about, hey, this is the stuff that I do, it's very easy. I see sometimes people like they want to feel sorry for me that I have a thing. And I'm like, no, come back. Because actually, a lot of people have things. A lot of people walk around sick and nobody knows what to do with it, And so to be able to say, this is actually a good thing. I went on a date once. I was going to see my friend, and she was, one of my best friends. She's an amazing dancer, and Cheryl, hey, shout out. She was in this production, right? And she's also 52, so like this is really cool to see somebody that good. Blah blah blah. Anyway, so I went to go see her, and I went on a first date with this guy concurrently. Do you want to go see my friend? And so he comes, meets me at the place. I pop open my trunk. I pull out a bench. Like, I didn't even have my chair yet. So it was like a bench. And I was just like, can you carry this for me? And he was like a big buff guy. So, and then he goes, what is this for? And I said, so child abuse, have a spine injury, don't make a big deal out of it. He's like, all right, here we go. So then we go in, and somebody says, hey, where are you bringing this chair? And I'm very matter of fact about it. I needed to sit on, da da da. Oh, okay, blah blah blah. And we go in. We go in. He's following my lead because my attitude is good. My attitude is gratitude. I'm good. I'm not making a big deal of it. I don't want to make a big deal out of it. Whatever. And we go. And then when we left, he said, that's really good. You have a really good attitude about this, and we didn't work out. Like, we didn't end up like, being all the things, but I felt intuitively in that moment, yeah, like I should always have that attitude about it. And I don't always have that attitude about it. So yeah. So gratitude, be grateful, like I'm grateful that I have a roof over my head. Sure.
Mm-hmm.
But more so because it's like, these are the reminders for me to trust in this process, trust in my higher power, and like, maybe it's not always going to be this roof, maybe you're moving into a new house.
Yeah, right. I got a new roof going on, and
a new roof going on.
Yeah,
that's adorable.
If I have my daughter in front of me, I know that if I'm grateful for her, I'm grateful for everything that ever happened to me, and I don't think you have to be grateful for everything. You don't have to be grateful at all if you don't want to be. But being grateful just helps you recognize where you are. I mean, that's the whole point of it, right? It doesn't make you a bad person not be grateful for the situation you're in. But if you can become grateful for the position you're in, then it probably makes your life a little easier, right? Yeah. And then you can start to really focus on what you can do next to fix the position that you put yourself in. And that's something that I forget all the time.
Plus, who would you be if you didn't have those experiences? Like, let's say there's something in your past that you say shouldn't have happened, right? But that thing is one of the things that made you who you are today. And if you like something, maybe about how good you are at something, right? Mm-hmm. Or maybe something that you have, like a physical thing or something. What if you knew that thing contributed to that? What would you change? It's kind of like when people say, wouldn't it be great to go back in time and change something? Okay, but if you didn't know what it would change about your life today, and there are things you love about your life today, your daughter, what would you really change?
Yeah, I wouldn't change anything.
And it gives you more of a gratitude attitude. Is that right? An attitude of gratitude, looking back, right? Because you go, all right, what would I really change?
I don't, and here I'm a very simple person, right? I don't need much in my life. There are certain positions where I feel like I got used. I think to myself, I wish I wouldn't have got used.
Yeah.
But it's not like it's going to change anything if I change it, right? Like, I'm not going to feel better. And maybe those experiences made me the exact character that I have, right? And those exact experiences, because I can relate to someone else that felt the same way.
Right.
So I could be grateful. I'm not going to be, right. But I could be grateful for them. Right? I could be like, oh, thank you. Because if that guy didn't treat me like an asshole, then I wouldn't have left with this one time and hang on. And then so on the chain goes,
Right.
That's something, if we could tell the future, right, would we be grateful for the moments that we're in?
Right.
Like, if I knew that this chick leaving me would eventually lead to me meeting this other girl and having a daughter with her. Mm-hmm. Would I be grateful that she left in that moment?
Right.
Like, get out.
Oh, I just got the chills.
I don't even need you here.
Right.
So,
don't you understand? I have a daughter coming.
Yeah. Right. And that's
oh my
it.
God, that's beautiful.
But that's the thing with God and stuff, is that I can't be grateful for the things as they happen because I don't know what's going to happen next. But I could be. Right. So that's why I can be grateful for the position I'm in, because I don't know what will happen next. But I can be grateful that God's taken care of me so far.
Right.
Because He has in my life, especially because I went from hosting this morning show and being married to this very beautiful woman, right, who ended up passing away, and I thought that was it, right? And in that moment, my life no longer was worth investing in to me. I didn't see a future in it, so I invested in it. And then I just recently realized that my unmanageability
Mm.
came from the fact I didn't want to manage it.
Mm.
Right. So why would I invest in something? Why would I manage something I don't want to manage? So there's no unmanageability there. So when I get to living in the chair and I realize that this something's went wrong, right?
Right.
And I got to go fix my life. I get up and just start walking and I start fixing. I start getting my life together.
Right.
But all that stuff had to happen. Every single thing to lead me where I am.
Yeah.
And yeah, I should be grateful for more of it, but I'm just grateful. I'm just grateful for right now.
So there's a couple of things that you said, and you're hearing my dog barking. Who's sitting outside the studio right now. And he does not want to be outside the studio. He's not grateful.
No, he's not, is he?
No. But there's a couple of things that you said, and one of them was like how you came alive when you had that attitude of, like that life is worth investing in, and there's something that that's what gratitude does, and it's like it spins the narrative, and instead of being poor me, like with like pour me, pour me, pour me another drink, instead of it being that, it which by the way, if you've ever done an experiment, start telling yourself, how bad your life is, or how hard you have it, or shaming things about yourself, and watch your energy go down. Watch how you start to get tired. Watch how you start to feel like, what's the point? If you're really listening to what you're thinking and you're saying to yourself, watch how you stop having inspiration and stop feeling like there's a purpose and there's no reason to invest. Now try the experiment of telling yourself, what, this is right. And be real with yourself. Like, don't give yourself completely outrageous, like if I'm particularly like not happy with my body, I'm not going to start telling you my body's perfect. My body's perfect. It's like, no, I'm not going to do that. But if I'm just like, what though, it's progress, man, like, and I'm 52 or something like that, and I have like a better attitude about it, I promise you I'm much more likely to exercise. I'm much more likely to eat the right amount of food. And I'm much more likely to have more confidence in my stature and what I choose to wear. And I'm going to feel more beautiful for it, for example. If it's work, if I'm not coming from, oh my God, this is horrible, this is too much, yada, yada. And instead I'm like, you know what? I'm grateful. I'm going to take things one step at a time, etc. Then I don't know. I get much more energy. I get much more inspiration. Life's worth investing in,
Yeah.
et cetera, like that. And so at this point, we're just going to take a break and check on the dog, and we're going to take you to a commercial. So we'll see you in a bit. The meeting space is a facility with over 100 weekly recovery meetings for addiction from alcohol, drugs, sex, food, gambling, codependency, and PTSD. When someone is scared to go to their first meeting, we walk them through the process, ask them and answer questions to assuage their concerns. Many are court-ordered to attend, and we provide free court papers and teach them the process. Our glass-enclosed, soundproof children's playroom enables parents to be in a meeting while watching their children. We have healing workshops, craft fairs, and special authors who come to teach and sit with our fellowships. During COVID, we were declared an essential business by the County Commissioner's Office. We were kept open so that we can continue our daily work with traumatized chronic relapsers and those who would have used alcohol or drugs in isolation. Local businesses rent our space as well to financially help with this mission, and they get to have a great location for their business meeting or training. The recovery store in the center of our facility provides literature, clothing, medallions, and custom gifts to encourage, aid in, and celebrate a person's recovery from alcohol, drugs, PTSD, or unhealthy behaviors. Both the recovery store and the meeting space are open every day, including holidays. Saving lives, educating the community, reducing social stigma, providing a safe place for people to heal. Our nonprofit is supported entirely by donations by people like you who want everyone to have a place to go to heal. Welcome back. Please remember that the opinions expressed here are strictly those of the person who gave them and do not represent any 12-step program and are not meant to replace your own intuition or professional medical advice.
Ooh, your own intuition, even.
Your own intuition.
Sometimes your intuition's terrible.
Well, that is not your intuition. I feel like, honestly, I feel like there's always a risk that somebody's gonna be like, well, that person, that person has to be right or something like that. And like, I think the best teacher is the one that teaches you to listen to your intuition. Like listen to everything that everybody says, but listen to it with a grain of salt. Listen to what resonates with you. Find out what's true for you. Don't go around listening to everybody and just taking in exactly what everybody else is saying, because you're never going to find yourself that way, and you're just going to be up in your head, when really we're trying to be listening to our own intuition and trusting to thine own self be true. So I think it's important to, everybody that we're going to be talking to, right? Everybody has different experiences. So we take what resonates with us and then we let go of the rest. And then we allow for everybody to have a difference of opinion and a difference of experience. And we're just grateful for the expression and the joining, right?
So here's a great example of that, actually. I have someone in my life that wants to give me advice on how to be a dad, right? And
are they a dad?
No, actually, but they have had kids.
Okay.
So the
so it's a woman.
Yeah, it's a woman.
Okay.
Yeah. So she gives me the advice, right? And then she goes, "I hope I'm not offending you." And I was like, "The only way you would offend me is if I assume I'm wrong, right? But I don't assume I'm wrong. I just assume I don't know." Right? Or there might be something you're going to teach me today, right? So, and if you don't, and if I don't agree with what you say, I just move on with my life.
Yeah, perfect.
Right? So if I'm thinking to myself that I'm wrong, and then you say something that I don't agree with, but I'm wrong anyways, then I'm going to be pissed at you for telling me, because how are you going to tell me something that doesn't sound right to me when I'm,
right?
It's just like, it seems like there's a whole lot of negative.
Right. Do you want to be right or do you want to be happy?
Yeah. Right? Yeah. Exactly. So I just want it to be happiness, right? And for the most part, I'm not one of those people that judges. You give me advice, I'll listen. Yeah. I might not take it, but I'll listen to what you say.
Yeah, just see what resonates. That's really the best thing we can do. This way we're teachable and we can learn and we can grow. And at the same time, we can stand true with what resonates with us and find out and listen to our intuition, which I feel is our connection to our higher power.
That is. Actually, I remember hearing Holy Spirit meant breath. Translates to breath. And I thought to myself, one of the times that I feel like the hair stand up on my back of the neck, right? Or that really anxious feeling always feels like someone's like whispering to the back of my neck. I remember my wife used to do that. It would give me the tingles, right? And I think sometimes, what if God's trying to get to me, right? He's trying to give me this sign. And I feel that tingleness, and I can either go with anxiety or excitement. And sometimes I pick the wrong one, right? And I feel the wrong thing, because they're both the same thing, just a perception of it, right? Yeah. So if God's telling me something, I'm misunderstanding it, and I'm going, oh my God, this is making me so nervous, when really he's saying, just do it, stop dragging your feet, Or it's like, oh my God, I shouldn't be here, but instead I'm like, I can't wait to do it, because I mistranslate that feeling.
I think that's also a good point, is to have an attitude of gratitude is to look for the ahas, to look for the God shots, to look for where things are working out right, is to have that attitude like, oh wow, God, I'm so glad that happened. Or
and that's the thing, is I get to go to work today.
Yeah.
Right? Like that's
you get to go to work, and then everybody you talk to, you get to speak to them, and if we're in the right headspace and we are acting grateful, even if, let's say, something happened, so my phone fell out of my bag. So this is what happened. So I parked at Whole Foods. I was really, really close to a bush. I went to open the door and I realized that, and I was honestly, I was moving too fast. I was doing too much. I was not centered in this moment. That is the reason why this happened. I am sure of it, but let me proceed. So there I am at Whole Foods, and I go to open my door and I see that I do not have enough room for me to get out of the car without scratching up my door with the bush. So I go to close it, but I had my bag, and so my phone fell out of my bag, and I heard something, and I looked, and then my phone's black, and so I didn't see it on the ground, and so I closed it, and I was like, well, I know I have to meet somebody at Whole Foods, so I'm just gonna go, and I'm gonna back up, and yes, I ran over my phone.
Oh, no.
And I went, and I parked somewhere else, and then I had this really bad feeling. So I get out of my car, and my intuition says, where's your phone? And so I go, uh-oh. So I go and look in my bag, it's not in my bag. And then my intuition says, you know where it is? I think I do. And so I walked over there, and sure as you know what, I see it face down on the ground, which cannot be good.
No.
So I pick it up, and I've never smashed a phone ever. That was mine anyway. And it was completely smashed, and it was blinking and everything. And I was just like, oh my God. And immediately I knew that I did this. And I said, oh my God, this is going to cost so much money, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, and instead of riding that thought train out, I got back into, okay, this is God's way of saying slow the fuck down, you know?
Right.
And I was just like, all right. And so I was just like, okay. And I tried to mess with it and whatever like that. There was no Verizon that was open. I got into acceptance again. I was going to have to deal with it tomorrow, kind of thing. And because I was not allowing myself to get crazy about it, which I could have, I had, my mind was ready. It had all of the it was ready. It was ready to take me on the ride of stress. And then so what ended up happening is I went on Verizon to find out, do I have coverage, whatever. And my intuition said, see if you can get it fixed. And I'm like, no, no way can I get it fixed. I drove over it. How's it even possible? Well, I was able to get it fixed for free. And so like I would never have heard that. I would have spent money on the thing I assumed, which was a new phone. I would have gone through all the stress of, because my headspace would have been screwed up. I would have not been nice to anybody, not the Verizon person, not the anything. I would have been stressed out because I wasn't, whatever. And I knew I felt bad because I broke my own phone, right? If my attitude wasn't in gratitude, this entire experience would have been different. I was nice to the people who fixed it. I didn't know if I was ever going to fix it. I was even nicer after. But within 24 hours, my phone was fixed. It was crazy, and so and I was in gratitude, but I wasn't grateful for the phone, although I was grateful for the phone, but I wasn't grateful for the phone. I was grateful that I felt like something was looking out for me. I felt grateful that in spite of myself, there were steps to be able to fix it. And that, and I also was grateful for the experience, because without a phone, I know it was only 24 hours, but bear with me, okay? There was a disconnect of being able to do lots of things that I was like attached to my phone doing, that it was very eye-opening experience of exactly how attached to my phone I was. And I felt kind of like when the power goes out in your house and all your appliances shut up for a second. I felt that feeling. I felt that feeling of not having to look at my phone, not having to whatever like that. And that was really valuable. It was really valuable. And so I've taken it into my experience with my phone. I'm looking at, like, when I go to look at my phone, going, do you need to right now? Like, maybe you don't. Put it down. Like, walk away. So
I need to learn that,
when
dude.
we have an attitude of gratitude,
Smash my
we
phone
look
right
for
now.
all the God shots. We look for like where things are going right rather than things going wrong. We trust more in a higher power too. I am more likely going to trust in a higher power what's going on if I have been grateful and appreciative of all the stuff
Yeah.
that's happened. Like if I realize like, oh my, if my head's been right and I'm making peace with my past, and I realize like, oh my God, there's a country song. I'm gonna jack this, but whatever. Here we go. Where it says, I think it's like, "Thank heavens for unanswered prayers," or thank, or whatever.
I
And
don't listen to country. I'm out of my element. I have no idea.
okay, so the song is, this guy goes to some sort of fair, and he runs into his first love. I mean, the girl that ripped his heart out, and and all the feelings came back, right? All the feelings came back, and he was just like, "Oh my God, she's so beautiful," like blah blah blah. It hurt that we were apart and everything. And for a moment, he entertained that energy and the idea of it. And then she started talking about her life since they were apart. And so then he started talking about his life and his kids and his wife. And he realized, you know what? like, thank God for unanswered prayers, because he used to pray, God, give me her back. Like, help me be with this woman. And he realized in that moment she was not the one. And then we can get so attached to things being a certain way and certain people in our life that we don't see the bigger picture. We don't know what future us is going to need, or future us anything. And so to be grateful for that our prayers don't get answered sometimes, like when our little gimmies, like, please God fix this, please God whatever, because something, there's a bigger purpose to it, like when you were talking about having your child, like,
Mm-hmm.
there's more to it. I moved to Las Vegas because of a man who I ended up marrying and then subsequently divorcing, but who was my best friend, who we ended up having like a shit show of a marriage, in a lot of ways. And I actually said out loud, you couldn't pay me to live in Las Vegas. I was a stripper, and I had come out here with the owner of the last strip club I've ever worked for in New York. And he was downstairs gambling, and I was up in my hotel room after I had gambled a little bit too much. And I was like, okay, this is stupid. This is boring. The only thing you could do is gamble. You couldn't pay me to live in Las Vegas. So here I was years later. I'm moving to Las Vegas to be with the man I'm marrying, and blah, blah, blah. And like, I was just whatever. And then look what I get to do right now. Not to mention my hair looks good because it's not humid. I was in New York and I was in Houston. It's gratitude.
Oh, Houston.
In every situation, you can really pull all the beauty out of the situation and be grateful. We have a storm happening, right? We've had this storm happening here in Las Vegas. People get all crazy because we never have rain. And it's like, oh my God, what's going to happen? But the smell in the air.
Mm.
That smells incredible.
And I love it so much. Desert rain smells so good.
The sound of the boom and the rain and all that, like, don't you miss that?
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's so beautiful. And so while somebody could be like, all like, this is the worst thing, this is horrible, they're missing that, right? And it may sound foo-fooey, but at the end of the day, the more I'm in gratitude, like real gratitude, the better my chances for sanity, the better my chances of being a nice person to other people, right?
Well, yeah.
I'm grateful for them. I'm grateful for the experience. I'm able to be present. And then to be grateful when something's over,
Yeah. Yeah, still be grateful when something's over.
Yeah. To appreciate it.
So I've been looking for a house, like I said, I finally found one. But when I was first looking, there was this place, a condo that I really wanted one.
Mm-hmm.
And a friend of mine lives there, and I was like, I want to live there too, and it'd be great, And I seen her condo, and I really liked it, right? So
Mm-hmm.
I'm looking for that same condo. Well, none of the condos they showed me looked like the one she had, right? Not one of them.
Right.
So, and then the one that's supposed to look like the one she has, the day I'm supposed to come see it, they rented it out, right? So I'm like, what the crap? And this is after trying to buy a house and finding out I need 2 years experience because I'm commission based. So they're not going to give me a mortgage anyway. So now I'm looking for this house. That one gets taken. Then I go find another house. It gets taken. So now I'm going to this third house, and it's even better than the last few condos and everything else I've seen so far. So this house is it.
Mm-hmm.
I get there. I walk up. There's a park across the street. The garage is huge. I can put my gym in there. Yeah. I look next door, and they have a bunch of Buddhist or Hindu statues, depending on what
Right.
I think it was Indian maybe.
Right.
And all this stuff, and then they're big statues too. So those people invested some money in those statues. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So they must believe it. Maybe I'll hear some singing bowls on there or whatever they're called. And so I go in there, and I'm like, this is my spot. And my daughter, she ends up falling down the stairs, but I mean, not falling down, but she fell down one, and she was not having it. Right?
Oh.
She cried a little bit, but other than that, the whole thing was great. She enjoyed it.
There's a big difference between falling down the stairs and falling down one stair.
Yeah, well, for her, she's a little tiny, so one stair is like a pretty big drop,
Yeah.
So anyway, so I pick her up, and that was the only bad part. Everything else is pretty nice, and I was like, this is my spot. So I go to apply for it again, and they don't even say anything to me. They just say they're not gonna. Actually, they don't say anything to me, but they take it off the website. So then I have the realtor that showed it to me go back, and he's all, it's still there on my end. Like, I don't know. And I was like, well, I've tried contacting. He's like, so have I. They're not answering.
But you felt the feeling about it.
Yeah, I felt this feeling about it. So then I'm thinking to myself, and I stopped for a second. I go, you know what? Every single house I've looked at has gotten better.
Yeah.
Right? So obviously there's a path I'm doing here.
Yeah.
You know what? I'm just gonna let go, and I'm gonna let God handle it from here. And so I go, all right. So we go check out the next house, and the next house, total train wreck of a house, right? It was a nice house, but it's a terrible neighborhood. Like, I don't know what's up with this neighborhood. It's in a very nice part of Vegas, but this specific neighborhood, not great, right? And so I get there, and this guy's cursing at his dog, and they're all smoking, and I can smell the weed coming over it, and they're drinking and barbecuing. It's a Sunday. I was like, perfect time for me to show up here because I would not want to live next door to that kind of action.
Ooh, that's an attitude of gratitude.
Right? So I'm like, awesome. So now I'm really grateful. I'm like, well, whatever happens, happens.
Right.
So
Perfect.
I find this one house, the lady said she'll show it to me. The rent's very cheap. It's smaller than the rest of them, which I want a smaller electric bill anyways.
Right.
So I'm like, all right, let's do this. So we go down there. No, sorry, I go to one more house before I go to that house. I go to that house. I love this house, too. The neighborhood's great. It's literally minutes from where I'm going to be dropping off to be watched. I'm like, this is it, dude. So the lady goes, well, do you want to see the other place? And I was like, well, I have scheduled another realtor. She's like, well, I can just show it to you. That way, if you like that place more, I'll know, and then I'll rent this one out to someone else. And I said, because I qualify for everything, right? So all I got to do is say I want it, and I should get it. So we go down to the next one. Well, I get there, and we can't get inside. Actually, it's a funny story in that, too. So we can't get inside. And I look across the street, and there's a playground, and then there's a splash pad, right? And there's all these kids playing in the park. I was like, this is it. This is our spot. Like, whatever I got to do to be here, right? So I was like, this is the place I'm going to rent. And I don't care what happens. This is the spot. You didn't see it. I haven't even seen inside yet. Oh, wow. But I've seen outside. And outside's enough for me. Right? I can deal with the inside. I'll doctor it up if I have to.
Yeah, okay.
So, but I have to pee real bad, too. And so she can't get us in the house. So she's like, well, I'll go. And I was like, all right, I'll go to the store. Well, I got to pee bad because I've had to pee since the last house. So I go to the park. The park has bathrooms. Of course it does. It's a park. Well, all the bathrooms are locked for some weird reason on a Saturday, right? Or Sunday, whatever day. So I'm like, I can't get in there. So I have to go, and I put Brooklyn in the chair. So I have the door open. It's like, hey, we're just doing this, dude. Right there in the middle of the parking lot, outside the park. I'm in between the car door and Brooklyn, right? Peeing and just hoping nobody walks out. Very quiet Sunday afternoon. Right, I'm like, my new neighbors now are going to see me peeing in the street. Dude.
Lovely.
Think, what? So later that day, I came back with the realtor. She got me in there. I love the place. There's a couple nervous things I had about it, but she's like, here, just send me your application. I send it to her and I get it, But if I don't recognize that my life is going to be filled with disappointments, right? It's going to be. Right? But if I can be grateful for those even the disappointments I can be grateful for because it could lead to something better. Right, and this is from things that are minuscule. If not this,
something better.
Right, and
if not this, something better.
From when I lost my radio job.
Block it or bless it. Block it or bless it, God.
A long time ago, we were doing this thing called Girls Day Out. I was working for this radio station. Very, very big event. Scratch that. It was the regatta. Never mind. It was the Bullet City Regatta. So it's a huge event. And we go down there. There's this palm reader. Right. Well, nobody else. Everybody was busy, and I was the only DJ left, and we all had to interview different people. Well, I wanted to interview the palm reader. Like, I was into it. So they go, well, here, and she goes, well, you want me to read your palm live on the air? And I was like, of course I do. Why wouldn't I want you to do it? And so she gets down, and she goes like, oh, it looks like you're gonna make good money. And I was like, oh, surprise, surprise, right? That's always what they say.
Yeah.
Like, and you're gonna have a daughter as a single dad. And I said, and she's like, when you have your daughter, you're gonna make your money. And my wife at the time couldn't have kids, so I was like, oh, this lady's a crack.
Yeah.
So now fast forward, I have a daughter and I make more money than I've ever made before in my life, right? Significantly more. So it's like, dude, that lady told me what was happening before it happened. So I actually, if you're winding back, if I would have remembered what that lady said and believed in what she said, then I would have definitely prepared for all the things that were going to happen next. But
that's really amazing. This was a really good show.
Yeah.
And I'm really grateful that we got to have this conversation. I love talking to you, and I feel like we keep it real, and we just share all of our experience, strength, and hope. You can watch us on Facebook, on YouTube, and on Amazon Fire TV. You can get our podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and iHeartRadio.
Dang, let's go.
Oh, and then you can go to themeetingspace.com, and you can click on the Real Recovery Show, and you can see all of our episodes listed. I post all the YouTube, and you can go on YouTube and just look for us as well. And then I tend to post them on Facebook, so you can friend me or follow me on Facebook, Lisa Trevino. And so thank you, Kevin. This has been awesome. And we'll see you next week.
All right. See you then.